the UCP 600 and the other rules we have in place, helping the world to save $3 to $6 billion.
Well, that's a lot of priorities, and that's a lot of things going on.
The geopolitical situation. And you can really feel it. Only the multilateralism is going to ensure that these rules will be globally adopted.
When Florian Witt took over as chair of the ICC Banking Commission, he described himself first as a father of three, then as a banker, and only then as a trade finance leader. That sense of responsibility has carried into his mandate at the ICC Banking Commission, which faces increasing geopolitical fragmentation and challenges, growing digitalization pressures, and renewed expectations around the relevance and impact of the ICC. Nearly a year into his tenure, we're about to sit down with Florian to discuss what progress has been made against his early priorities, what has proven harder than expected, and what the future of the ICC Banking Commission holds. Florian, welcome.
Deepesh, thank you.
So, Florian, when you stepped into the role, you spoke about strengthening the relevance and the voice of the ICC Banking Commission. You're now nearly a year into the mandate. Where do you feel you've made the most concrete progress?
Yeah, Deepesh, I think one of the progresses we made is that we are today here in Paris. And we are back on a level of attendances, a level of quality of exchange, both in digital, but in presence, in an important financial marketplace. We started with Dubai, then we had Singapore, we have Paris now, and then we are going to have London at the end of the year, and it's already scheduled also for 27, the program. So I think this is one amongst many other achievements over the last 1.5 years.
Thank you. And Florian, what's proven harder than you expected when you took on the role?
Well, actually, I was a vice chair before, and I thought that I knew everything about the Banking Commission. But becoming chair, I realized there were some angles I was not familiar with. The organization of the Banking Commission has several layers, has different committees, working groups, sub-commissions, technical advisors. So to understand all that and how it works together and where inefficiencies may appear, this was a bit harder than I expected. However, I think with a great team and with the vice chairs and with the help of the Secretary General and the team in Paris, we were able to fix many things very quickly. So yes, it was harder at the beginning, more than I expected, but then quite well managed.
Thank you. And since the end of the World War I, ICC has long been known for the setter or the creator of trade finance rules. But I guess times change, and in today's environment, how do you ensure that those rules remain commercially relevant rather than purely technical frameworks?
First of all, things remain commercially relevant if they are commercially valuated. So that's why it was very important, in my view, to put a number on those rules we have established over the last 100 years. To put a value is important to get an understanding, particularly to a financial community, about what it is worth. So having the UCP 600 and the other rules we have in place is every year helping the world to save $3 to $6 billion. So that is only one reason that will ensure that the rules will continue to exist. There are others as well. We are a multilateral organization, so we really have to ensure that multilateralism is the working attitude in the Banking Commission. in terms of how we work, but also how we are composed as a commission. So that's very important. And so the representation of the Global South and more improved representation of the Global South, giving more space to the Global South, but also inquiring more responsibility and engagement from the Global South is something that is important to ensure that these rules will continue to be relevant for the future.
And you've emphasized when you spoke to us at ICC Austria's Trade Finance Week last June, the need to collaborate with other industry bodies and associations such as BAFT, ITFA, FCI. Where have you seen progress in this rather than perhaps duplicating existing efforts?
And in Singapore, we had a so-called summit meeting. So the chairperson of these associations, by the way, including also SWIFT, met, and we looked where we have agendas that are conflicting or where we have thematics where we are working in duplicate, and we settled a plan to avoid that, to make it stronger, to have one voice together. And I think, for instance, in the sustainability area of our joint interest, we made significant progress.
Florian, over the past 2 days, you've gathered members, national committees from all around the world. What are members most concerned about right now?
The geopolitical situation. And you can really feel it. While 2 or 3 years ago we were discussing about sustainability, which is an important topic for the world, but now the geopolitical situation has really changed the debate and the dialogue. It is a concern in many terms. What does it mean to supply chains? What does it mean to growth of trade? What does it mean with dealing with conflicts? What does it mean with sanction clauses? What does it mean with multilateralism in setting up joint rules? So I think this is in the center of the attention of the members during our dialogue here in Paris.
So looking ahead into November, when the ICC Banking Commission comes to London, where do you see the next priorities emerging?
Dipesh, I think in November we were still discussing around geopolitical situation. And we will have to ensure that the principle of multilateralism and of a rule-based system continues to be in the center of our attention, and to ensure that we preserve the values and the values and the rules that we are extracting out of that. Very, very important. And I would love to discuss also digitization and trade finance. Of course, continuing our dialogue and debate on sustainability. And of course, regulatory advocacy. All their topics will be surely also covered. But I assume, considering the state of the world at the moment, that we are going to have the geopolitical debate still ongoing.
So now that's a lot of priorities and that's a lot of things going on. When your term concludes as chair, what 2 or 3 outcomes would you like to say to the industry that the ICC Banking Commission delivered?
First of all, to have realized that trade finance is much more important today than it has been most probably 5 or 10 years ago. That the banking community is aware about that. Secondly, that the ICC Banking Commission is not only the voice, but also the standard setter for rules around trade finance, and that we have adapted those rules to the new world. And last but not least, very important for me, a good rebalancing of the interests of the global North and the global South, also in terms of representation, in order to ensure that the Banking Commission remains a multilateral body, because only the multilateralism is going to ensure that these rules will be globally adapted.
Thank you very much. That was Florian Witt, Chair of the ICC Banking Commission here at ICC in Paris. Florian, thank you.
Welcome. Thank you.